Hello, what's up guys? I'm Kyle from KGR, and this is the SH Figuarts Bakugo. Now, Bakugo is one of my favorite characters because I love his color scheme, I love how they use the explosions as a superpower, and I like how he grows as a character throughout the series. So of course, I was very excited for this to become an SH Figuarts, especially with his winter outfit being a thing. So far, I do have every Figma for my hero. I have every character in Revoltech, and I plan on doing the same for SH Figuarts. So we'll be comparing the SH Figuarts to the Figma as well as the Revoltech figures, because I'm not a huge fan of the Revoltech figures because they were the best figures of the characters at the time, and I'm excited that Figuarts is finally stepping in. And I will be getting all the accessory kits as well. Like, they do have that Plus Ultra kit for Bakugo as well as Midoriya, and I will be doing a video on that eventually. But I do plan on going for the full set, so if you don't want to miss out on that, make sure you sub. And of course, links will be down below on where you can order this guy as well if you really want to grab one. But here is Bakugo himself. Obviously, we got the nice, beautiful window, we got the nice white, and whatever accent color goes for the character. I like that scheme as well. Of course, we got Bakugo looking as epic as ever. And then we do have the hero names behind their Japanese names as well, so that's pretty sweet. The Great Explosion Murder God Dynamite. I think this is the only piece of merch that actually advertises that, so that's kind of cool. My biggest thing is, like, as bulky of a character as Bakugo is, they made the box surprisingly thin, so I love that for storage, because I keep all the accessories still in the box. So one side you get all of his different faces, the other side you get him in just a standard pose, the back you get to see more of this fun stuff, and of course, this is going to need a little bit of photoshopping, but if you're good with Photoshop, then yeah, you can do something like that. And we get to see some of the cool poses that we can do for this figure. And we may try to replicate some of those, but we'll see what happens here. But without further ado, let's open them up. Now, as much as I love Bakugo as a character, and I like his design of a character, he does not really translate very well to an action figure because of how bulky everything is and how it becomes such a pain to just maneuver with the figure. So we slide this out, we got a nice orange background. Then we have instructions behind this as well. We'll keep these on the side just to play it safe. Because now that I'm in my 30s, my boomer arc is starting to happen, so I'm not going to know how to do things anymore. And tech is soon going to scare me pretty soon. And then we just got to pull this out. It's not like one of those things where you just pull off. No, the top layer wraps around the bottom layer, so we got to slide it off. And personally, this is why I mostly prefer when it comes to packaging like this, because all the accessories don't fly everywhere when you finally get it all off, because I don't know a delicate way to get that off without everything flying around. Then we got Bakugo himself, and then we have the little, like, the anti-paint transfer thing in his torso, and then we have the pieces of the rest of his mask that we gotta pop inside. I'm not hearing a satisfying snap. There we go. You feel it, but you don't really hear it from what it sounds like. But let's try this again. There we go. I'm very scared of stuff like that because typically these kind of pieces are extremely brittle. So, a little nervous. Let's move the accessories aside for now and let's get a closer look at Bakugo. Now, I love seeing Bakugo as an action figure because I always love the way he translates. He always looks so good. Although playing with him can be a bit cumbersome, the way he's designed looks so fantastic. Like, I love how his little collar just covers his mouth. I love the color scheme. Like, I love everything about this figure. This looks really good. And from what I've seen with other reviewers like JM Animations and Anime Heroes, from what it looks like, he shouldn't be all that hindered when it comes to articulation. Like, I'm pretty confident I can do mostly what I want with this figure. And one of my biggest complaints with the Amazing Yamaguchi was the fact that, like, whenever I would try to pose him and do anything, he would fall apart. And I think this one does kind of fall apart as well, but I don't think it's going to be anywhere as bad as those other figures. And then the Figma was just so brittle to play with, I was just always scared to touch that thing. But I love the design of the winter costume, I love how all the proportions are. Overall, this is what I want in a new Bakugo figure. This looks fantastic. And of course, every action figure needs action, so we gotta play with him for a good bit and let's see how well he poses into things. And the fact that I had like little to no effort putting him into a dynamic pose like this, I have good expectations when it comes to putting this in fun poses. But before I do anything like that, I want to put him back to a normal pose and then put him next to some of the other figures I have in the collection and see how well he, like, either scales or, I don't know, that's mainly what I'm looking at, just scaling. But point is, I want to compare him to other figures. The only real complaint I'd have with this figure is I wish the gauntlets had more of a metallic paint to them. Like, the silver does a decent job, but I wish the greens would have had that same love as well. Or at least make it a little bit reflective or something. But other than that, it looks fine. But first, let's compare it to the Midoriya within the same figure line, and scaling wise, of course, they look good together. They both have those collars covering their mouths, making them both look mysterious. I wasn't a fan of the lack of shading on Midoriya, but with Bakugo, I'm not sure how much shading you can really add to this because of the color scheme of his costume, but I don't know. I think they both look really good. I like the way this looks. First, I'm going to compare it to the Figma because I felt the Figma always looked really off. I didn't like how his back kind of overlapped from the back, and it looks like he just has some, like, I don't know, like, back fat, like, just leaking out. I never was really a fan of that design. I love the look of the explosions, but to me, this was kind of like the tail end of my love for Figma for a good bit, because these figures were extremely expensive for what you got out of it. And at one point, the little gauntlet things right here did break on me, like it's actually trying to break again right here. So I gotta re-glue that back on. Awesome. So that said, I'm not a big fan of the Figma. So after we carefully put him back, we're going to take a look at the Amazing Yamaguchi Bakugo. Now, I don't have the gauntlets on this one because of how often they would just fall off, and I just got very irritated by that. And plus, I just love this pose for Bakugo as a whole. Now, when it came to, like, sculpting and, like, how the faces looked, I absolutely love the Amazing Yamaguchi, and I still don't want to get rid of it. So when it comes to, like, having figures on the shelf, I will keep this Bakugo on at all times. But I won't deny how good the SH Figuarts looks. Like, even though they're going for different costumes, I'm not going to say one looks better than the other. They both go for two different things. So I would say if you can get both, get them. And get a later release for Bakugo if you can, because the early ones are awful. And something I forgot to mention with the Figma, when it came to the little back fins, lack of a better term, for the back of his mask, you could tell how thin, brittle, and very spiky those things were on the Figma, to the point it just wasn't enjoyable to play with. And it's definitely handled a lot better here. Like, they retain the same thickness, while with the Figma, it kind of just, like, thins out to a very thin spike. I'd show you, but I'm scared to touch that thing right now because the thing's trying to fall apart again already. But now when it comes to accessories, we got a couple of sets of hands, we got 4 different faces, we have an extra back hair piece so we could take off his mask. And then we got a couple explosion pieces, and these look so much cooler than the ones that we got from Figma because they are like a little bit more reflective. But let's try swapping off the head real quick. So how exactly does that work? Do we just pop off the head, pop this on, and just borrow this hairpiece? Because so far that's my theory. But what sucks about posing these figures and swapping out faces, it hurts. The hair is always so spiky. And then we just pop that back on somehow. Let's try doing it without putting the full face on so we can actually see what we're doing with the ball socket. With how long and thin that peg is, I hope this thing doesn't break. But yeah, putting the neck on first and then putting the rest of the face and hair back on, that is a whole lot easier. And look at him. Of course, Bakugo looks so freaking cool like that. But I will say, I do notice the inconsistency in the paint on his armbands. I'm starting to notice that now. That's not very great. I know Midoriya is getting re-released because he's sold out immediately. I'm not sure if Bakugo is getting that same love as well. I would say, if you can, maybe wait for a restock because I don't like that inconsistency in the paint. Their Naruto line is fantastic. Their Dragon Ball line, for the most part here, is pretty good. I don't know about the One Piece, but I wish you had a little bit more consistency within My Hero line, because the wrist pegs weren't very great on Midoriya, and now it seems the paint on this isn't very good, and I'm pretty sure this thing has a few more issues as well. But now that we're done playing with that face, let's swap it out for a whole nother face. Okay, now that we put those back, let's try and recreate the front cover right here. But we get a better look of the legs on there in the back as well. So we're going to swap out these fists. And these shift. I forgot about that. Nice. It's probably mainly for, like, getting the hands on and stuff easier, so I appreciate that. Thank you. Do some of these have pegs? Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we're going to put that hand on. Come on, there we go. There we go. That's better. Now I just got to do the same thing with the other side. Oh, both of the pegged hands are on the bottom. Okay, I got it. Alright, there we go. That's much better. Cool. Took a little bit. It's a little tough getting those hands in there with the gauntlets the way they are. But I'm happy they shift, so it makes it a little bit easier, but still ain't very easy. But we also gotta swap out that face. So we gotta pop off the neck. Take that off. Take that off. And we have two shouting faces that mostly look the same, but one just looks a little bit more chaotic and angry than the other one. Ah, one's a little bit more bloodshot. Okay, that makes sense. And I'm pretty sure it's the bloodshot one they use in that. Yeah, let's use that one. When I think of him shouting and having like an evil smile like that, I typically think of him having his eyes bloodshot anyway, so I'm probably going to use his face more often anyway. There's not a whole lot of neck movement because of his collar, so it makes posing it a little bit tough when you're trying to see his mouth, but then posing the legs, extremely simple. It's not as posable as something like the Amazing Yamaguchi, because that one just flows, but that one also falls apart real easy, but this one's not falling apart, so I'm really happy with that. And it's a shame because I'm actually more of a fan of the older costume more personally. Does it matter where these explosions peg in? Like, is one hand built better than the other? Like, how does that work? Okay, that one looks like it matches. Okay. And then this one, you can kind of see, like, how the hand is supposed to, like, line up within the explosion. It's kind of hard to see on camera, I'm pretty sure. But when you see it in person, you can see how it's supposed to line up. And then you just slip it into place, and it actually looks really good. Now, on paper, like, this does look pretty minimalistic. But with the use of Photoshop, as well as, I don't know, if you get the accessory kit where you can have even more effects, then it looks a lot better. But the arms seem a little bit weak. That may be just my figure, because from what I've heard, these things actually do, like, pose half decently well. But I think it's just a matter of how you pose the arm itself. Like, if it starts to drip like that, I noticed if I, like, rotate it a little bit and then rotate the bicep right here, then it kind of does stay in place a little bit better. But there's my attempt at recreating that pose. I think it looks fine. Like, I think this looks pretty good. And this pose looks kind of fun, so let's try that. I'm always a fan of poses like that. So I assume we're going to be going for just, no, not these hands. I want these hands. These ones have their fingers a lot more spread out. Now, we mainly get to see, like, how good his squatting ability is. I'm sure if I pull up a picture of him in that pose online, it'll probably be a lot better than just looking at the box. But there's one person that I love watching when it comes to posing action figures, and that's Geek Effect. Like, he is, like, a master at posing these figures. I feel like I used to be a lot better at posing figures, you know, back when I was, you know, less depressed and more motivated and, like, inspired. But right now, I'm going through a slump. So, right now, I'm just recreating what I see on the box. So, Geek Effect. Shout out to that guy. He's a true artist, for sure. I think that's as close as I'm getting to it. I think it looks pretty cool. I like that. I'm not sure how I'd personally use the other faces all that much. Especially with, like, the bloodshot eyes. Like, I feel like there's almost no reason for the other one. But this face, the only real thing I can think of is him just, like, standing there looking menacing and, like, saying, like, yeah, good luck, brother, or something like that, you know? So, I'm gonna try to do my, I don't know, my good luck, brother pose. I don't know what to call it. I was gonna pair it with an explosion piece, but I think another pose that would be fun is if he's, like, doing that kind of pose, you know? So, let's see if we can do across the arms pretty well. Especially with how big and bulky, like, these, like, gauntlets are. I'm very curious of that. So we're gonna get one of these hands that, like, kind of wraps around a little bit. And then we're gonna get this fist right in here. But we gotta, like, make sure his collar stays down enough so you can actually see his teeth. I mean, technically I can kind of do it, but, like, looking at it from the front, you don't really see anything all that much. So that's probably not a real good pose to do, unless you have the accessory kit where it has the gauntlets off. Then that's a good pose to do. But even then, with the collar like being in the way, like it's hard to reposition that to really show off his face all that well. So I think we're just gonna take this out. And never mind, we accidentally took the wrist peg with it. Gotta love that. Can we just like put the peg in here and then put it back into the hand? Because honestly, that's probably a whole lot easier, to be honest. There we go. And then we gotta do this explosion effect. And here's this pose, I guess. It's not very dynamic, but it's something, I guess. I don't know. Like, I feel this Bakugo figure is cool. I think he's worth picking up, especially for being a good poseable Bakugo that doesn't fall apart on itself. So, sadly, that's a first. My only real complaint is, like, the paint on the armbands, and I wish the shoulders were a little bit stronger on my figure. But buying this figure by himself kind of feels like an injustice. I feel like you have to get the Plus Ultra kit to really make it worth it. And it sucks because, like, the Amazing Yamaguchi figure comes with all those accessories that you need all in one bundle for about $60 or $80. While with this, you pay pretty close to the same price, and you still need more, even though it is a better built figure that doesn't fall apart on itself, so that's kind of nice, I guess. So it's a double-edged sword, from what it feels like. But anyway, thank you for watching. So if you want to buy this yourself, like I said, links will be down below on where you can order this guy. And if you're new and you like what you saw, you know what to do. My link tree is going to have all my social media. And I think the next figure in the line is Todoroki. And we plan on comparing that with the Figma as well as the Revoltech. But before we do all of that, we're going to pair this with the Plus Ultra stuff as well as Midoriya. So we're going to see if that accessory kit is worth the money. But anyway, thank you for watching. I love you guys to death. And I'll see you on the next one. So peace, peace.